Hi, welcome to the Bridge Connection. Here's my plan. I plan on continuing these times together. So we're in the Word Monday through Friday, as long as I'm able to, and as long as you choose to join me. I just love these times together talking about the Word. I thought what we'd do for a few days together is just look at prayer. Verse that just keeps in my mind constantly. 1 Thessalonians 5:17, pray without ceasing. That means to always pray. Prayer is God's ordained way for us to know Him, to receive things from Him, to experience change in our lives. God moves, acts, and responds to prayer. Prayer is a law that He established throughout the universe. Why? Because prayer stirs fellowship and communion with God, brings about a greater knowledge and understanding of God. It causes us to learn more and more about Him and more about ourselves, and stirs more and more trust as well as we worship and praise when we pray. Prayer stirs and causes every good thing imaginable between God and us. This is the reason God destined prayer as the primary way that we are to communicate with Him. It's the reason that He gave us His exhortation to pray without ceasing. Continue and persevere in prayer. In our daily worship and quiet times, as we walk throughout the day, we need to be praying constantly. How do you do that? If prayer was just an exercise that we go through that required us to assume a certain posture and recite certain phrases, then following Paul's commandment would be impossible. But prayer is much more than that. It's not just something you do occasionally or even for a few minutes every day. Prayer, when applied to our lives, is the way God intended it to be. A 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week conversation with God. It's life. Today I want to talk about how to put this commandment in Thessalonians into practice, how to pray without ceasing, how to develop this prayer life. And here's the most powerful principle on prayer that I've ever learned. Ready for this? Here it is. We learn to pray by praying. All of my life, I've been taught that I should pray. When I was young, my mom would tell me, say your bedtime prayers now. We've all listened to countless sermons about prayer, but I learned how to pray by praying. And you're going to find this is true in your own life. You can listen to even these messages the next few days about prayer, but you're going to learn the most about prayer in the privacy of your own prayer life. You learn to pray by praying. How do you do that? Just begin to pray. Don't try to clean your life up. Don't try to make yourself worthy to be heard in prayer. It don't work that way. You don't clean yourself up for God. You come to Him as you are, and He does the cleaning. Most of us understand this principle of salvation, that we can never earn or deserve His forgiveness, and it's only through His grace and mercy that we're saved. But somehow, after experiencing His grace and salvation, we so much of the time try to earn His continued acceptance through our own works. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's happened to me. There are times in my life when I've fallen out of maybe a close fellowship with God, and I've become maybe just a little too familiar with sin. And at those times, and I think about prayer, and it comes up in my mind, my first reaction is, I can't even think about praying right now. I have to get my life straightened up. I doubt God would even want to listen to me right now, and He's certainly not going to answer any of my prayers. The part about needing to clean up our lives is correct, but there's a crucial distinction to be made here. We can't get the cart before the horse. We don't clean ourselves up so that we can come to God. We come to God so that He can clean us up. When our life isn't where it should be, the first step toward getting things back on track is prayer. Great example in Luke 18. Jesus told the story of two men who came into the temple to pray. Here's the story. Two men went up the temple to pray. One a Pharisee, the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood up and began to pray about himself. God, I thank you that I am not like other men, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give a tenth of all I get. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He wouldn't even look up to heaven. But he beat his breast and he said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you, this man, this is what Jesus said, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. See, this tax collector understood the principle of beginning where you are in prayer. He was a sinner, he knew it, so he came to God confessing. Too often we find ourselves in the tax collector's shoes, and instead of turning to God right then, we start thinking